The opening scene of the movie features two professional burglars who frequently steal a range of items. These two robbers come from different backgrounds and steal valuable goods in China. Thong is a skilled thief who enjoys playing card and other types of gaming. Because gambling was ingrained in Thong's, no matter how slim a chance he had, Mahone would always place a bet. Meanwhile, his partner, named Octopus, is a flamboyant man who frequently engages in romance with numerous women. This time, they drain the contents of various safes in one of the rooms in a prestigious hospital. They quickly and successfully retrieved all of the money from the safe in the city. The octopus rushes out of the hospital after stealing some cancer medication, but they were stopped by security guards who were on patrol. In the meantime, in a different room, a woman is struggling to give birth to her baby. The birth of the child has been eagerly anticipated by the extended family in the waiting room, but their happiness didn't last long. Suddenly an intruder came and immediately started shooting. Revealed to be the mother of the child's ex-boyfriend, Max pushed the mother's bed, who was still in pain after giving birth, into the elevator. However, this man had been blinded by his heartache, and in the end, Max felt confused and disappointed with the information provided by his ex-girlfriend, but he still took the baby and insisted that the baby was his. As a result, the security guards who were initially focused on pursuing Thongs and Octopus are now concentrating on chasing Max, and unexpectedly that make the how? By escaping the hospital and going home with the landlord, who has served as Thongs and Octopus mentor for more than 20 years. The landlord is also the one who teaches the techniques for opening safes from various series, and Thongs and Octopus are very lucky because aside from being both equipped with kung fu skills, they both also have the right mentor in action, and he's the landlord, the life of the party. The three of them team up and the landlord helps gather information about a target Thongs and Octopus can execute. They would feel hollow after committing the theft despite having amassed enormous cash, especially if they don't get along. On the other hand, the landlord has a slightly different life. He feels happiness with his wife, but he was also filled with emptiness in his heart for not having children. The landlord's sadness became even more when he discovered that there was nothing left of the money savings in his safe with Feely. The landlord intended to deliver the frogs and octopus's subsequent project, but first he wanted to find out who had stolen his money. However, neither the frogs nor the octopus were particularly interested in the landlord's story or his inquiries, so the landlord eventually forgot about the incident and immediately conveyed the project he had just received. The reward was quite alluring, 7 million yen. Thongs and Octopus, who had previously been too exhausted to speak, were immediately enlivened by the news, but they are unsure of the nature of the project. That evening, the three of them rushed to a home where it had been confirmed that it was a safe place to stay. The landlord apparently brought all the necessary equipment to carry out the action with a little effort. The three of them made it into a baby room. Then the landlord dripped liquid mixed with sleeping pills into the baby's mouth so that the baby would fall asleep when he was taken out of the house. Thongs and Octopus don't care about luxury house that had extremely tight security, but thanks to their cunning they can easily break into the house. To their surprise, it turns out that the task this time is to deliver this infant to his grandfather. Although initially persuaded to be an octopus, the landlord was able to persuade them that their action this time was to help resolve family disputes. Enticed by the rewards that would be given, the octopus and Thongs gave up and chose to follow the plan that had been prepared by the landlord. Then they rushed somewhere, but their journey to that place was not easy. The baby's grandfather is a mafia leader known as the Dragon Fish. Long story short, Thongs and his gang managed to elude the police patrol, but the three of them couldn't evade the mafia ordered by the tribe boss until finally their car crashed into a ravine. Nonetheless, Thongs, Octopus, and Thongs managed to escape. It turns out that the boss who wants the baby has another ploy is meant to make sure the baby could reach his hands soon, because after this he would carry out a. The two men had to deal with a tiny baby boy who could do nothing but cry when they returned home with the infant, and chaos started to break out as soon as the baby lost the effects of the sleeping pills. The baby kept crying loudly, which made Thongs and Octopus panic. The two of them tried to stop the baby's crying in a number of ways, such as serving dishes as offerings, singing, or dancing, but the baby wouldn't stop until the landlady finally came and entered their room carrying a baby doll. However, in the end, they both managed to outsmart the landlady, and Thongs finally succeeded in stopping the baby's crying by inviting him to play. The following day, Thongs and Octopus start looking for information about the landlord. They learn that he is currently being held at the police station on suspicion of traffic negligence and will be released in 2 weeks. This news naturally made them hysterical because they had no idea what to do with the baby. So, they went to the shopping center and bought some random baby supplies like milk, diapers, and other things. Thongs are also offered the sage counsel that childhood is the most important time in a child's life. After finishing their shopping, Thongs and Octopus passed a gym for pregnant and lactating mothers without giving it much thought. They entered the gym and asked everything they needed to take care of this little baby bear. Thongs met one of the instructors who caught his attention. Whatever they give to this baby will affect its life in the future. In addition, the cashier also provides proper baby care instructions specifically for new parents. The life of Thongs and Octopus changes drastically as they spend more time at home and only travel on occasion so their baby doesn't get bored like mom and dad phones, and when Octopus sees his wife walking on the sidewalk with a man, he forgets about the baby and leaves him on the bus. Fortunately, the female instructor recognized the baby and took him with her. She also returned the baby to Phones. They finally decided to enroll in parenting classes to learn how to care for babies, which is all Thongs and Octopus did, simply so their kid wouldn't cry and annoy them both. As a result, the changes in her lifestyle became more and more apparent. Thongs and Octopus continue to seek out parenting-related information, and they both faithfully attend parenting classes and kids' gyms. On the other hand, the tribe boss is becoming more and more perplexed every day because he hasn't met the baby, who is thought to be Max, a young boy who irritated him so much that he forcibly took his men and held them hostage. Additionally, Max of Body is in the frigid room with him for neglecting his responsibility to carry the child there, and the dragonfish has learned about Thongs and Octopuses from his soldiers. The following day, the dragonfish crew's mafia members pursue Phones and Octopus. It is a little challenging for them to deal with the mafia, but in order to protect the baby, they entrust the infant to Pac-In and engage in a fierce battle. Eventually, however, they both manage to escape from this large-scale criminal gang thanks to their cunning and resourcefulness, and they finally returned home. When monolenders who seek to collect loans came up, Pac-In carried the infant to Thong's house. By Thong soon after, the octopus wife also arrived to bring the baby's ultrasound results, but she didn't know the whole story. When she saw Pac-In and saw the baby at that time in the octopus bed, the octopus wife was disappointed. Fortunately, Thongs was with his friend who was a police officer at the time so he could get help to avoid the criminals, although in the end the police also felt something was odd because there was a baby in Thong's house after that chaos. Thong's house was extremely crowded because it was visited by many people. When the baby was finally able to leave the house in a stroller, however, it turned out that the stroller got stuck in the back of a truck that was being guarded by security officers, and in the end the pram was carried away by the truck with all the other people. It was inevitable that they would all then engage in a great and ridiculous kung fu fight. The baby almost fell into the mafia group, but fortunately Octopus managed to grab the baby while fighting in the apartment. The landlord was freed from prison ironically on the same day, but regrettably directly in front of the as soon as he entered the prison, the dragonfish's men forcibly picked him up, and when the landlord saw the big boss face to face, he instantly went limp, especially after he saw the bodies of a man he knew lying stiff when he was taken out in the cold room. Meanwhile, Thongs felt unwell, and he also met his father who was unexpectedly ill with the baby. The baby's hand clasped Thong's father's fingers. Fun milk to drink while waiting for a doctor's prescription. Thongs meets a lone Charcos who owed him money who was also taking his baby to the hospital because the baby had measles SPO. G's siblings suggested that Thongs take the baby to the hospital, so Thongs heads straight to the hospital where Melody Octopus wife works. Once they arrive at the hospital, the baby immediately received treatment and it turned out that the baby could recover soon and the fever. Apparently, Thongs started to comprehend how to eat and take simple medications. Thongs and Octopus have been caring for the baby since it was born, and they already fully adore and care for it. It appears that the landlord was also aware of the baby's condition and cared for it in the hospital, but his primary motivation for coming was to deliver a message from the dragonfish so that they could immediately hand the baby over. In addition, the landlord persuaded Thongs and Octopus to continue carrying the baby. Initially, Thongs and Octopus didn't pay the amount they had to provide the tribe boss in exchange for the baby. The television in the room was broadcasting the condition of the baby's parents who kept crying and hoped that the baby would be returned soon. In addition, the baby's parents will also offer quite fantastic rewards for people who can find their baby Thongs. Octopus were becoming agitated, so they decided to get some fresh air and observe the baby instead of moving with the amount of money beside the baby box to a place that can accommodate her and the child she was carrying. The octopus' emotions grew unstable since his heart was broken and he felt bad for what he had done to his wife. In the meantime, the landlord is still in the hospital, so he calls his wife to come see him right away. This time, the landlord was moved to see his wife holding the baby lovingly, but they still have to give the child to the mafia boss in accordance with the original plan. However, this time, the plan is more mature. The landlord will first meet the mafia boss while Thongs and Octopus will give the child to the mafia. With 30 million yen, the landlord meets the mafia boss and his outrageous ways. As the exchange progresses, the baby feels very sad to be left behind by Thongs and Octopus, and the baby can already call Thongs. He asks that the landlord accept the payment first before handing over the baby. After his request was granted, the landlord then called Octopus and Thongs to take the baby to a playground right away. Father Octopus. When the octopus asks what the mafia boss will do with the baby, the mobsters respond that their boss will do a DNA test to ensure that the baby is his grandchild. If the findings match, then the baby will be given to him. Undoubtedly, the employer will be delighted. Thongs interrupted the mafia gang's speech and inquired about what would occur if it turned out that the infant was not the mafia boss's grandson, without giving it any thought. The baby was taken back right away by Thongs and the octopus, who then made their umpteenth attempt to flee in order to save the child. Thong and the octopus actions are more difficult since they must contend with so many mafia gangs. Despite their attempts to flee and survive, the mafia Thongs who were able to hold the infant were forced to give up because the octopus had been taken hostage and was in danger of dying when they arrived. When the mafia boss and Max come face to face, it becomes clear that the boss is actually Max's father. The boss loved his son so much that the baby immediately remembered Max's action with the octopus at the hospital at that time, and the mafia boss promised that all of his son's wishes would be granted, including Max's wish to save his ex-girlfriend before he fell and died. Not long after, a doctor confronted the mafia boss and revealed the results of the DNA test. However, the result is negative and it means that the baby is not Max's son. Disappointed, the baby was being saved by Thongs and Octopus, who exerted all of their strength to overcome the formidable fighter standing guard in front of the cold room door. However, the formidable fighter has superior fighting skills, making it difficult for Thongs and Octopus to defeat them. As a result, the baby was forced to remain in the cold room for a longer period of time even after being rescued, even though it was later discovered that he had suffered from severe hypothermia. Thongs then yelled for the infant to wake up as the octopus continued to brush his palm against the infant's cheek. However, the infant remained asleep. Thongs eventually had the bright notion to shock the infant with electricity even if they were only using an automobile. Despite using a battery as the power source, they gave the infant 3 shocks without success. Thong's health was disturbed, but he did not care because he kept crying and weeping for the baby. Octopus experienced the same thing, and the people in the room were moved by their efforts to save the child. Shortly after, police and medical personnel arrived to save the child while arresting Thongs and Octopus. In addition, the landlord was also detained. The 3 of them admitted their mistakes thus far and made a promise to do better moving forward. The landlord is granted leniency at the conclusion of the tale thanks to Thongs Octopus. They were also visited by the baby's family, who of course also brought the adorable baby. When the baby's family saw the baby Thongs and Octopus, they cheered and walked over to them. The baby Thongs quickly took the baby in his arms, and that's when they heard a miracle. The baby's family offered them the chance to work as employees in their family. At the time, they had only recently learned that the baby's family was expecting. This is the end of the movie. Subscribe for more content like this. Thank you for watching.